Right, buddy, welcome back. Latest Manchester United news time. We'll be talking about the Nicholas Jackson deal being off. We've got an update on the striker situation, which we will, of course, discuss. We've also got some news on targets being revealed. David Ornstein has revealed what United's next targets are. We were talking about Evan Nilsson, Juventus in for Højlund, SESKO updates, and much more. Obviously, we had the huge announcement yesterday with Brian and Mbeumo signing for Manchester United. Now, we do have some other interesting news. Now, Manchester United unlikely to bid for Nicholas Jackson. We've also got some stuff on Gyökeres as well. But Nicholas Jackson, again, that deal doesn't. I didn't think it was going to happen in it. I think United are just certainly exploring options, and that's United's right, to be honest. I think looking at options to sign, looking at players like a Nicholas Jackson who has emerged is reasonable. I don't think he's a player for United anyway, and obviously it doesn't look like we're going to sign him. We're very unlikely to bid. He's got he's got 8 years left on his deal. Chelsea want 80 to 100 million. I mean, they ain't going to get that for him. So, again, maybe later on towards the end of the window when you can't really get money for him, or they're desperate to sell him and they will lower the price, maybe will United go back in for him then? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, Sancho. Now, this came in from David Ornstein. United and Sancho and Juventus deal is not close. It was just, it was heavily coming from the Italian media. There wasn't really no truth in it. So it doesn't look like Sancho is going anywhere for the moment. Talks continue with Juventus, but it's not as advanced as people made them out. Now, Victor Gyökeres. In the last 24 hours, in recent hours, overnight between Monday and Tuesday, from sporting intermediaries and agent close to Sporting offered again Gyökeres to Manchester United an opportunity to enter the deal and try to hijack the move. Now, United only really want, Gyökeres only really wants Arsenal at the moment. So I think that deal isn't going to progress. I think he's a player who has his eye focused on Arsenal, which makes a lot of sense. He's dedicated to the club. Obviously, would I love Manchester United to steal Victor Gyökeres from Arsenal? Yeah, I would. I mean, especially because it's Arsenal, and I think he is the perfect striker for United. But he has his heart set on Arsenal. I think all these talks that are coming out recently about United going in for a bid, United doing this, I think it's all talks. We're all kind of going into the media just to make Arsenal go for the deal. As I said, I love Gyökeres at United. I think he's fantastic. The perfect profile, age, quality, can score goals. But again, we're going to talk about other options now. Moving on, Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko is not a serious target for United at this stage, with the transfer fee and salary considered beyond the club's current budget. So, realistically, which striker are we going to get? And that's one of the players David Ornstein has identified. We will talk about the two others in a moment. Which striker are we going to sign? Because Sesko just, at this current moment, seems too expensive. Gyökeres is focused on going to Arsenal. Osimhen is not coming to Manchester United. Ekitike, who's a prime target for United, he's gone to Liverpool. So there aren't many options out there, and I think we really need to. Obviously, you've got Ollie Watkins. He'd be someone potentially that United will go for. You've got Mateta as well. He's definitely a viable option. So when I certainly look at, as I said, Watkins. And then you've got the likes of Moise Kean, who's been talked about recently. Dominic Calvert-Lewin. For me at the moment, as I said, it's looking like Ollie Watkins is the main player I think United will go for, to be honest. I think there are problems there. Do I think Watkins is good enough? I think he can maybe give us 1 or 2 seasons, but in terms of longevity, probably not. But again, I think, as I said, my question, if you look at a lot of the strikers, I'll compare Watkins and Sesko at the moment. What you get from Watkins is he's Premier League proven, age, experience, and can score goals, and obviously he has the qualities, left foot, right foot, all of that stuff, but they're like the main benefits of him. You look at Sesko, 22 years of age, so he's a young, inexperienced player. But not relatively inexperienced, but compared to Watkins. Hasn't played in the Premier League, so may need time to adapt. Is on the younger end, so as I said, is less experienced. And also, if you look at Sesko, he is a good player. I mean, no player under the age of 21 scored more goals than Sesko last season. Like, he is a decent player, but he's not the finished article. And I'm not saying Watkins is, but I feel like Watkins is the more option. You look at Nicholas Jackson, for me, I'd rather Sesko than Nicholas Jackson. And I know, but I think you can get more out of Nicholas Jackson than you can Sesko. But let's see what develops on the striker situation. That's really it on that. Juventus are reportedly open to a permanent deal for Højlund, but only if Manchester United potentially accept around half of the £64 million we paid for him in 2023. So that's around, obviously, no, that is 32 million. Would you let Højlund go for 32 million? Before that, let me talk about Evan Nilsson, who's a target which we'll talk about. So, listen, if you're saying Højlund to Juventus, 32 million pounds, I think a lot of United fans would take that. I think, no disrespect to Højlund, but he's just not the sort of striker that we need. And I think it'd be perfect. If you can get 30 million for Højlund from Juventus, it would be fantastic. I'm sure a lot of fans will agree with this deal to get him gone out of the club. I think it's a deal that makes a lot of sense. I think Juventus are a club who are looking to pick up a lot of United players. But hopefully they can get one or two in Sancho and Højlund, to be honest. But yeah, let's see what develops on that. On Evan Nilsson, as I said, decent Premier League striker. United are only looking at him because he is Premier League proven. As we've been saying, United are just looking at more or less every potential striker they can sign. I mean, some of the players that we've been linked to, like some Moise Kean, Nicholas Jackson, Evan Nilsson. I've seen links to SESKO, obviously, Jonathan David before he went to Juventus. Like, United want a striker. Obviously, the prime target would have been a Gyökeres or Osman, but they're not feasible, so we are looking elsewhere. And there are options out there. There are players there that United can sign, but Evan Nilsson, I don't really think he's an option. As I said, he's a decent player. I think Bournemouth, he's doing well for Bournemouth. Would they be willing to sell him? Again, is he that sort of striker that we need, who's going to come in and get 15 to 20 goals or 20 to 25 goals a season? Probably not. Now, the other two positions that Ornstein identified, so I've talked about the striker there, is a defensive-minded midfielder and a goalkeeper. So, in terms of keeper, I think that one was pretty obvious. But a defensive-minded player, I didn't think about that, to be honest. I didn't think that was on the radar. In terms of defensive-minded midfielders, we've been linked to Ederson. You've got Baleba. You got Adam Wharton. You got João Palhinha. You got Wilfred and Didi, someone you've been linked to as well. So I'll definitely keep an eye on him. But again, I think we do need a midfielder. I think that's definitely a position we can look at. I don't think I'm seeing all these, as I always like to mention, these like dream 11s or predicted 11s. I'm seeing Mainu Ugarte pivots, Mainu and Bruno Fernandes pivots, Casemiro, Bruno. These are just not going to work. And I think we need a dynamic midfielder in there with them for that to work out, to be honest. So who that midfielder is, we don't know. I think Ugarte can become that. I just don't think he's there yet. I think he's got a lot of improvement to do. But let's see what happens. Let me know your thoughts. That'll be in the latest update.